Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Kino Recordings Radio, Episode 7. Today's title is Adexptt's Debut. Now you're like, that's not what that looks like. It sounds like. Well, that's how he told me to say his name. So, if you have questions about that, maybe you should ask him. Today we are going to have 10 tracks in the lineup, and then at the end we will have adexptt's new song, his first song actually, Fibere. So without that, let's go ahead and get our episode started with a track from the Balance EP, title track, Balance. I really like this track, very chill. You just have to enjoy it and just sit there and take it in. You gotta take it in. That's all I can really say, other than this is Kino Recordings Radio with Balance. This is Adexptt's Debut. And well, that was Balance by me. Now, our next song coming up next from the Techno Tests Volume 3 album, it is Testifying Techno Test 7. Now, you can't complain. The Testifying Techno, like the Techno Tests Volumes 1 through 3, are so good, you can't complain about them. I love them, and I think that was my personal music peak. Alright. Well, I don't have much else to say, except this is Keenan Recordings Radio with adexptt's Debut. Well, that was Testifying Techno Test 7. Now, coming once again from the Techno Tests volumes, coming from Techno Tests Volume 1, actually, it is Testifying Techno Test 2. On Keenan Recordings Radio, this is adexptt's Debut. Well, that was Testifying Techno, Test 2. Now, I can't remember if I did this track or not, but I probably didn't, so I hope I didn't. Coming up next for the fourth song of today's track list is my very own Lenient on Kino Recordings Radio. This is adexptt's debut. And that was Lenient. Now, coming up next is one of the most weirdest song selections I didn't expect anyone to make. But if it had to be somebody, it had to be, sorry to call you out, but the Aphex Twin fan. But there's nothing wrong with liking Aphex Twin because I like a couple of songs by Aphex Twin. Polynomial C is my favorite. I know, very basic, but moving on in, it is 70, the first song that was ever added into, well, I guess the catalog. I mean, you can barely hear noises. Well, there's something. But I guess enjoy the clanking and clacking of 70. This is Keen Recordings Radio with adexptt's debut. And out of all the song selections that are in this almost 520 catalog, it had to be 70 as one of the picks. But coming up next to re-cleanse our minds of what even the frick was that just before us, it is coming from the Night of the October 10th album. It is 9-Bit Remastered. I really like this song, to say the least, and I think it's going to be a good cleanser for whatever the frick we just listened to back there. Yeah, but I guess enjoy Keener Recordings Radio. And that was 9-Bit Remastered. Now, once again, I guess Adest just couldn't get enough of the Techno Test, because coming up next from the Techno Test Volume 2 album, it is Testifying Techno Test 11. I really like this one, and I think out of all the 3 songs that are in the Techno Test Volume 2 album, I think this was the one to get the most views. So this is Keener Recordings Radio with Adest's debut. I really had to correct myself there because I keep forgetting how to say his name because, well, it just doesn't look anything like that. So this is Keener Recordings Radio, again, with Adest's debut. And that was Testifying Techno, Test 11. Now, coming up once again, and for the final time inside this episode, it is another Techno Tests song. Coming from the Techno Tests Volume 3 album, it is Testifying Techno, Test 5. On Kino Recordings Radio, this is adexptt's debut. And that was Testifying Techno, Test 5. Now, for the second to last song of today's episode, it actually comes from McClanahan, surprisingly, so enough of the Sokina bombardment. It is McClanahan's Galactic Implosion, a song that comes from April 20th of 2024, so it's a decently old song. I can't remember exactly where this comes from, to be honest. Ah, yes, the Seeing the Reason, whatever the blue one was, not the teal one. Alright, well, I guess this is Kino Recordings Radio with adexptt's debut. That was McClanahan's Galactic Implosion. Now for the final song of this episode, and me heading out. It is time to leave y'all with the first song of Adexptt here on the Sokina channel. It is Fibere. That is its name, and the way that you spell Adexptt is all lowercase adexptt. So, yeah. This has been Keener Recordings Radio, Episode 7. What is about to currently play is Adexptt's Fibere. This is Adexptt's debut. This has been Keener Recordings Radio. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more content just like this. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your night or day.